I never planned to keep my success a secret. But after a decade of watching my family mock my career choices while living in my private penthouse overlooking Central Park, I had grown accustomed to the irony of it all. My name is Olivia Winters, though the business world knows me only as O.W. Blackwood, the reclusive founder and CEO of Blackwood Innovations. To my family, I'm just their disappointing middle child who wastes her time with freelance tech consulting instead of joining the family law firm. The day everything changed started like any other. I was reviewing acquisition reports in my private office on the top floor of Blackwood Tower when my assistant, Michael, rushed in with an unusual expression on his face. "Ms. Winters, you need to see these job applications," he said, placing a tablet in front of me. "They just came through HR." I glanced at the screen and nearly choked on my coffee. There, in pristine digital formatting, were the resumes of my sister Diane and my brother James. Both had applied for executive positions at Blackwood Innovations. "There's more," Michael added, scrolling to another document. "Your father's law firm is also pitching their services to our legal department. The meeting is scheduled for next week." I leaned back in my chair, memories flooding back from 10 years ago. I was fresh out of college with a computer science degree, pitching my ideas for revolutionary software architecture to my family over dinner. "Tech startups are a dime a dozen," my father had scoffed, barely looking up from his legal briefs. "Winters and Associates has been a respected law firm for 3 generations. That's real success, not this coding nonsense." Diane, 2 years older and already a junior partner at the firm, had smirked. "Come on, Dad. Let her play with her computers. She can always come work as our IT support when she fails." Only my younger brother James had shown any interest, but even that was condescending. "Maybe you could build us a better website for the firm," he had suggested, as if that was the height of technological achievement. I left that dinner knowing I would never convince them to see my vision. So I stopped trying. Instead, I took my savings, borrowed against my trust fund, and started working in absolute secrecy. The first few years were brutal. I worked out of a tiny apartment, taking legitimate freelance jobs while building my company on the side. Every family gathering became an exercise in restraint as they pitied my struggling career. Still doing that freelance thing became their constant refrain, always tinged with mock concern and real condescension. What they didn't know was that my freelance thing was a cover for building one of the most innovative software companies in the world. Blackwood Innovations revolutionized enterprise architecture, cloud computing, and artificial intelligence. By the 5th year, we were valued at over $2 billion. By the 8th year, we had gone public, and my personal worth exceeded the combined value of every law firm in New York. Through it all, I maintained my cover. I kept my small apartment for family visits. Though I lived in a penthouse, I drove an old Honda to family functions, while my collection of luxury cars sat in a private garage. I endured their pitying looks while donating more to charity each year than their firm made in profit. Now, staring at their job applications, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Part of me wanted to reject them immediately, to let them feel a fraction of the dismissal they had shown me. But another part saw an opportunity for something more satisfying. "Michael," I said finally, "schedule the interviews. But don't conduct them in the executive suite. Use the small conference room on the 15th floor." He raised an eyebrow. "The one we use for junior positions?" "Exactly. And don't tell them anything about meeting with O.W. Blackwood. Let them think they're interviewing with middle management." After Michael left, I opened my laptop and began researching my siblings' recent careers. Diane had left our father's firm 2 years ago after a failed attempt to modernize their practice. James had bounced between several firms, never quite living up to our father's expectations. Now they both wanted to join the tech world they had once mocked. My phone buzzed. A text from Diane. "Hey sis, I just applied to this amazing tech company. Put in a good word if you know anyone there." I smiled at the irony. For 10 years, she had never once asked about my work or shown any interest in tech. Now that she needed something, suddenly my connections mattered. "I'll see what I can do," I replied, knowing that tomorrow would change everything. That evening, I stood in my penthouse, watching the sunset paint the city in shades of gold. On my desk sat an old photo from my college graduation, the last time my family had shown any real pride in me. Even then, it was tempered with concern about my impractical career choice. My assistant's voice came through the intercom. "Ms. Winters, your siblings' interviews are scheduled for tomorrow at 10 a.m. Your father's law firm pitch is set for 2 p.m. Are you sure about this?" I thought about all the family dinners where I sat quietly while they bragged about their legal victories. All the holidays where they treated me like a cautionary tale. All the times they could have supported me, but chose to judge instead. "Yes, Michael, I'm sure. Tomorrow, the Winters family will finally learn what real success looks like." I picked up the photo, studying my younger self's hopeful expression. Back then, I had wanted so desperately to prove myself to them. Now, I realized that the person I really needed to prove myself to was me. The next morning, I arrived at the office early, taking my private elevator to the 15th floor. The small conference room had been prepared exactly as I requested. Simple furnishings, no view of the city, nothing to suggest the true power of Blackwood Innovations. Through the security feed, I watched my siblings arrive separately in the lobby. Diane wore an expensive suit, her confidence evident in every movement. James looked more nervous, constantly adjusting his tie. They were escorted to the 15th floor, neither of them realizing that their supposedly struggling sister was watching from the executive suite above, about to change their world forever. Through the security monitors, I watched my siblings sit nervously in the small conference room. Diane kept checking her reflection in her compact mirror, while James drummed his fingers on the table. Neither of them had any idea that their lives were about to change completely. "Send in the first interviewer," I instructed Michael through my earpiece. Right on cue, Sarah Chen, my chief technology officer, entered the room. I had chosen her specifically because she was young, female, and brilliant. Everything my siblings had dismissed throughout my career. "Good morning," Sarah said, sitting down with their resumes. "I'm conducting initial interviews for Blackwood Innovations. Let's start with your technical backgrounds." Diane straightened in her chair, adopting the confident pose she perfected in courtrooms. "While I don't have direct tech experience, I've overseen several digital transformation projects at law firms." "Really?" Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Could you elaborate on the technical aspects of those projects?" I watched Diane flounder, trying to mask her lack of knowledge with legal jargon. James wasn't doing much better, his claims of understanding the tech industry falling apart under Sarah's precise questioning. After 20 excruciating minutes, Sarah thanked them and left. My siblings exchanged worried glances, their confidence visibly shaken. "Send in round 2, I instructed. This time, it was Marcus Rodriguez, my head of innovation. He began asking about their views on emerging technologies, cryptocurrency, and artificial intelligence. Their answers were painfully outdated, filled with buzzwords, but lacking any real understanding. Is this a joke? Diane finally snapped, her frustration breaking through. We're here to interview for executive positions, not tech support. Where is O.W. Blackwood? We should be meeting with actual decision makers. Marcus kept his expression neutral, though I could see him fighting back a smile. Ms. Winters, I assure you this is standard procedure. However, if you prefer to leave... No. James cut in quickly. We apologize. Please continue. 3 more interviewers followed, each one expertly exposing my siblings' lack of qualifications. By the final round, both Diane and James looked thoroughly defeated. Ms. Winters, Michael's voice came through my earpiece. Your father's team has arrived for the legal services pitch. Perfect timing, I smiled. Have them wait in the main conference room. I'll handle this personally. I took my private elevator down to the 15th floor, smoothing my designer suit and checking my reflection. 10 years of hiding my success had led to this moment. The door to the small conference room opened, and I walked in. The look on my siblings' faces was priceless: confusion, then shock, then dawning horror as they realized what was happening. Olivia? Diane stammered. What are you doing here? We're in the middle of interviews. Actually, I said, taking a seat at the head of the table. You're at the end of your interviews, and they haven't gone well. James leaned forward, his face flushing. What do you mean? How would you know? Because I own this company. I cut him off calmly. I am O.W. Blackwood. The silence that followed was deafening. Diane's mouth opened and closed without sound. James gripped the table edge so hard his knuckles turned white. That's impossible, Diane finally managed. You're a freelancer. You work from coffee shops. I laughed, the sound echoing in the small room. No, Diane. That's just what I let you believe. While you were all pitying my career choices, I was building this. I gestured around us. Blackwood Innovations, a Fortune 500 company worth more than every law firm in New York combined. But James was struggling to form words. All these years? Yes, I nodded. All these years, while you mocked my coding nonsense and offered me IT support jobs, I was revolutionizing enterprise software. While you bragged about your legal victories at family dinners, I was closing billion-dollar deals. While you dismissed me as a failure, I became one of the most successful tech entrepreneurs in the world. Diane's face had turned an interesting shade of gray. Why didn't you tell us? Why should I have? When did any of you ever show genuine interest in my work? When did you ever offer support instead of condescension? I pulled out their resumes, laying them on the table. And now here you are, applying for jobs at my company. Not because you're qualified. These interviews have proven you're not. But because you heard Blackwood Innovations was the next big thing. Olivia, please, James started, but I held up my hand. I'm not finished. Right now, our father is waiting upstairs to pitch his firm's legal services. He has no idea he's about to try to sell to his own daughter, the one he said would never amount to anything in tech. I stood up, smoothing my skirt. I have a meeting to attend. Michael will show you out. Oh, and don't bother waiting for callbacks about the jobs. You're not qualified. As I reached the door, Diane called out, her voice shaking. You can't just leave it like this. I turned back, meeting her eyes. Actually, I can. I spent 10 years letting you all believe what you wanted about me. Now you get to live with the truth. And believe me, this is just the beginning. Walking away from that conference room, I felt lighter than I had in years. But my day wasn't over yet. My father was waiting upstairs, about to experience his own moment of revelation. The best part, he had no idea what was coming. The executive conference room of Blackwood Tower offered a stunning view of Manhattan's skyline. My father, Richard Winters, stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, his back straight and proud as always. He was surrounded by 3 junior partners from his firm, all of them clutching presentation materials and practicing their best corporate smiles. I watched them through the glass wall for a moment, remembering all the times I'd stood in his office as a child, dreaming of making him proud. Now, standing in my own tower, I realized those dreams had changed. I no longer needed his pride. I had my own. "Miss Blackwood is ready for you," Michael announced, opening the door. My father turned, his practiced smile freezing as I walked in. For a moment, confusion crossed his face, then shock, then disbelief. "Olivia," he stammered, "what are you doing here?" I sat down at the head of the conference table, enjoying the moment. "Hello, Dad. I believe you're here to pitch legal services to Blackwood Innovations." The junior partners exchanged bewildered looks. One of them quickly flipped through his notes, probably wondering if they'd somehow missed this connection in their research. "I don't understand," my father said, still standing. "We have a meeting with LW Blackwood." "Yes," I smiled. "You do. Please, sit down." Realization dawned slowly on his face as he sank into a chair. You're LW Blackwood?" "Yes, founder and CEO of Blackwood Innovations, the company you're so eager to represent." I turned to the junior partners. "I apologize, but this meeting needs to be private. Family matter." They practically ran from the room, leaving me alone with my father. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. He stared at me like he was seeing a stranger. "How?" he finally managed. "How did I build a multi-billion-dollar tech company while you thought I was struggling? Or how did I keep it secret from a family of supposedly brilliant lawyers?" "Both," he whispered. I leaned back in my chair. "I built it the same way I tried to tell you I would, 10 years ago at that dinner. Remember? When you said tech startups were a dime a dozen." He flinched at the memory. "As for keeping it secret," I continued, "that was surprisingly easy. You were all so convinced I was a failure that you never bothered to look closer. Did you know Blackwood Innovations has been featured in Forbes 12 times? That I've been on CNBC? That our IPO was the biggest tech offering of the decade? But your apartment, your car, props," I said simply. I kept them to maintain the illusion you all preferred, the struggling daughter who couldn't match up to her sibling's success. My father's face had aged 10 years in 10 minutes. Diane and James, they applied for jobs here. Yes, they did. They just finished their interviews, in fact. It didn't go well. He straightened in his chair, some of his old authority returning. "Now see here, Olivia. They're your family. Surely you could." "Could what, Dad?" I cut him off. "Give them jobs they're not qualified for. Like you offered me that I'd support position at your firm?" I pulled out his firm's proposal. "Or should I just hire your firm because we're family? Is that how you think business works?" "That's not fair," he protested weakly. "No. What's not fair is spending a decade dismissing your daughter's dreams and abilities because they didn't match your narrow definition of success." I stood up, walking to the windows. "Look at this building, Dad. Look at what I built while you were telling everyone I was wasting my potential." He joined me at the window, his reflection showing a mix of emotions I'd never seen before: shame, regret, and something that might have been pride. "Why tell us now?" he asked quietly. "Because it was time. Because I'm tired of maintaining the lie. And because—" I turned to face him. "I wanted you all to learn an important lesson about judging people. And have we learned it?" A hint of his old sarcasm crept into his voice. "I don't know, Dad. Have you? Your children just applied for jobs at a tech company you said would never succeed. Your firm is pitching services to the daughter you said would never amount to anything. What do you think?" He was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the city. Finally, he turned to me. "I was wrong about you, Olivia. I've been wrong for a very long time." "Yes, you have." I walked back to my desk and pressed the intercom. "Michael, please show Mr. Winters out. And cancel all his firm's future appointments with us." "Wait," my father said quickly. "You're not even going to consider our proposal." I met his eyes steadily. "No, Dad. Just like you never really considered my ideas or potential. The difference is, I'm making this decision based on business merit, not personal bias." As he reached the door, he paused. "What happens now? With the family? That depends on all of you. I'm done hiding my success, done playing the role of the disappointing daughter. If you want a relationship with me now, it will have to be on different terms." After he left, I sat in my office watching the sunset paint the city in shades of gold. My phone had been buzzing continuously. Messages from my mother, my siblings, even distant relatives who had somehow already heard the news. I opened one from Diane. "I'm so sorry. For everything. Can we talk?" Then one from James. "I understand now why you kept it secret. I wouldn't have trusted us either." Finally, one from my father. "You've built something remarkable. Not despite ignoring my advice, but because you had the courage to follow your own path. I'm sorry I couldn't see that sooner." I didn't respond to any of them immediately. Instead, I called Michael in. "Cancel my dinner plans," I told him. "I need you to set up something else." The next evening, I hosted a family dinner in my penthouse, my real home, not the small apartment I'd used as a cover. They arrived one by one, their eyes wide, as they took in the luxury they'd never known I had. "Before we eat," I announced, once they were all seated, "I want to make something clear. This dinner isn't about forgiveness or pretending the past didn't happen. It's about moving forward honestly. Can we do that?" They nodded, looking appropriately humbled. "Good," I smiled. "Then let me tell you the real story of how I built Blackwood Innovations. No more secrets, no more hiding, just the truth." As I began my story, I saw something new in their eyes. Not pity, not condescension, but genuine respect. And for the first time in 10 years, I felt completely free. The next morning, I walked into my office wearing success openly. No more pretenses, no more hiding. My family had learned their lesson about underestimating people, and I had learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't proving others wrong, it's proving yourself right. The press got wind of the story, of course. Tech billionaire's secret identity revealed became the headline of the week. But I didn't care anymore. I had spent 10 years building something extraordinary while my family believed I was failing. Now they would spend the rest of their lives knowing that their biggest failure wasn't in business. It was in failing to see the success right in front of them. And that was worth more than any fortune I'd built.